Kevin, as you take a look at Texas Tech, I think the last time I looked at the stats, they were the number one field goal percentage team in the country. When you make corrections defensively from that last game, how much of it is what you can do with your defense, and how much of it is maybe opponent specific because they're so good at offense?
Yeah, I mean, two totally different teams stylistically, so we'll have to have, some things dialed in for Texas Tech that weren't pertinent to Houston. But, the rebounding obviously will be a big part of it, trying to keep them off the offensive glass. But, I was talking to the coaches, and I'm about to go tell the players, this will be the best offensive team we've played to date. They got I think it's a mix of just really good talent, and then their coach does a really good job of keeping them organized offensively. They space the floor really well. So I think specific to your question is there are some unique things that they do that we'll have to dial in that aren't necessarily carry over from the Houston game.
And then with your team response to the loss on Saturday, I imagine your experienced players are responding maybe a little differently than the younger guys, or is that something that they kind of all try to get together on?
Yeah, anytime you get your butt kicked as bad as we did in that game, I think everybody is just chomping at the bit to go right those wrongs. And just the best thing about that is the fact that we play tomorrow. There's really no other way to say it. So there's no good remedy to a butt kicking like that other than being able to go out and compete again. And I know every guy in our locker room, regardless of experience, is eager for that opportunity.
After going through the defeat with a wide margin like that against Houston, does it make you consider changing up the starting lineup or the rotation at all?
First of all, great hat. I got to get on your hat. Then you got good hats. Second of all, I think I'm very critical of what we do regardless. I think it's in sports it's very easy to be reactionary. We're coming off of a 20-point win against an Arizona State team that went on to beat Colorado by 20, right? And so things, no one was asking me that, including myself or my coaches after that game, right? And so I think we got to be careful about, reacting to certain things. But I'm super mindful of everything that we're doing. So I'm constantly looking at the lineups. Yes, there definitely are things, hey, should we do this? Should we do that? I think it's still too early to tell. I think I spoke about that, a lot leading up to conference play where, one of our downsides of the way our non-conference played out was not having a ton of continuity with, the starters given the injuries and so forth. So I do think we're continuing to learn about our group. Everything is on the table. Both starting and, who's playing with who and who's playing for how many minutes.
And just to follow up, when you say everything's on the table, what were your thoughts on that jumbo lineup with Foose and Keita? I think that's the first time we saw that this year. After reviewing the film, what were your impressions of how those guys played together, I guess?
Yeah. Small sample size. It certainly, changes our look in terms of just, the physicality. I didn't think the two of them rebounded great when they were in there on the defensive end. We still gave up offensive rebounds when they were in there. We tried to play one-on-one in the post when they were in there. That hurt us. So the reasons why I did it, quite frankly, didn't work. I thought offensively some of the interior big-to-big passing was of interest. But it was something we had worked on going into, in practice leading up to that game, knowing that we might need to go to it. So it's something that, we may grow over time depending on the opponent.
All right, Jeremy, and Jed and Jeff. Kevin, because you guys don't do anything on Sundays, what are your Mondays like with this schedule now that you're into the Big 12? It seems like they'd be really crazy.
I would say more efficient than crazy. Give a lot of time for the coaches to do, myself included, do a lot of prep work on Sunday, at home, watching tape, reviewing film, getting the game plan as sharp as it needs to be so that we can come in and deliver a really efficient message, to our group relative to who we want to play. I think the tricky part is being able to put the previous game to bed while still preparing for an opponent. And so I think there's always themes in games that carry over to the next opponent. So that's kind of how we're going to use our Mondays, live in themes that we feel like will help from a game-to-game standpoint, put that game to bed, and then quickly move on to the next opponent.
And then as far as playing at Houston, is there anything that either kind of surprised your coaching staff or the guys, just the hostile environment or anything about that kind of setting that you weren't quite prepared for?
No. I don't think it's that hostile. I don't think that's why they're good there. I just think they're a good basketball team.
Kevin,
Sorry? Okay, go ahead, Jerem.
With Jaeger and Dallin, how much more time do you feel like they need to kind of click together? And what are you hoping to see from these two as they continue to kind of gel and figure out who does what when?
Timeline-wise, not sure. I mean, I think they both need to play better, period. You know, and I've talked to them about that. They know that. They want to play better. I think it's just a matter of finding their spots. You know, I don't think it necessarily has much to do with them being on the floor together at the same time. I think it's a lot of newness for Dallin across the board. You know, in fact, this morning alone, I went in and watched every made field goal he had from last season, you know, just to kind of see what I could learn. Just thought aggressiveness was a bit higher last year from what I saw on the film. So, you know, trying to wind him up, he's almost too respectful of the game and of his teammates. You know, I want him to be a little bit more brash out there and try to wind him up. You know, Jaeger, I think, is still just figuring things out across the board, you know, in terms of coverages, physicality, how teams are going to play him. I really want both of them to just go out and play. Don't think, play, and let their instincts rule the day, because they're both very, you know, good players in terms of their instincts and their kind of their feel for the game.
How long does it take to watch every made field goal from Dallin Hall?
You know, it was a group project. You know, it was something I had the coaches staff kind of get involved with yesterday. But again, you know, all jokes aside, I think, you know, systematically when you go about things the way we do, it does allow for efficiency. So John Linehan was that was a big project of his. He came in really dialed, and we had some really good discussions as it relates to, you know, things we can highlight more for Dallin to see him, you know, being a bit more aggressive.
And then I wanted to ask you about Xavier State transferring to Utah Prep with AJ. What kind of sort of chemistry do you hope those guys developed in a half-year playing together?
You know, that was something that I got wind of just recently, and I think it's good for Zay, because I think the level of competition that they'll play against will be, you know, I think good for him. I think in terms of, you know, chemistry between those two, you know, I think it definitely helps more than it hurts. I think they'll end up finding that they kind of can scratch each other's backs. You know, I think Zay can really help him on the defensive end, cleaning things up. And then I think AJ's smart enough to know that he'll need to kind of feed the big fella to keep kind of that motivation for him going on the defensive end and on the glass. But now it'll be fun to watch it, man. They got a great program down there at Utah Prep. They got a lot of talent, and it'll be fun for us to keep an eye on both those guys together.
All right, we'll finish with Matt and then Mitch.
You lose Matt?
I was on mute. Rookie move by me.
Come on, Matt. I'm telling Roy about that.
I'm better than this, coach. Anyways, what does the film show about the turnovers and how that can be kind of cleaned up going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, there was a lot made of, and rightfully so, about Houston's defense, you know, nationally. And they do a really good job of what I call pressure on the pickup, right? And so if you play into that pressure, it makes the passing angles really hard. I thought the times when our guys, you know, back dribbled or just got off the ball quickly, we were able to get the things that we wanted, the things we talked about in practice leading up to that game. So it was more of an execution thing and trying not to play into another team's strength. But again, you have to give credit to Coach Sampson and their program and what he's built there. They're clearly a well-oiled machine at it, and we obviously didn't handle it very well.
Related to the turnovers, is the pace of play been where you want it to be, and how do you juggle a higher pace of play while keeping turnovers low?
Yeah, no, it's not. I think we're playing too slow. That's on me. I think I'm calling too many plays. I want our guys to play with more freedom, you know, more of our, you know, get the ball up the floor quicker. I think it's a combination of You talk about Dallin and Yegor. I think they're kind of feeling me out. Am I making a call? Are we playing on our flow package? And so, trying to give those guys the keys much more and wind them up so they're thinking less and playing more freely. And then I don't think it's just pace of play as far as getting the ball up the floor quicker, too. I think we have to make way faster decisions once that first pass is made. And the times we did that, we were really successful. And so we're trying to make that more of a point of emphasis moving forward.
Wanted to ask, Coach, your thoughts on what Trevin's provided. You had 12 points in that last game, both on the court and off the court for this team. As you guys continue to navigate the season?
Yeah, I love Trevin. I mean, he's about all the right things. He needs to play more minutes. I'm trying to something I'm mindful of. He needs to be out there more. Whether he starts or comes off the bench, he needs to be out there more. He's one of our most experienced guys. Even when he's not making shots, he provides value from a spacing standpoint. I think as a team defender, he's really good. He's always in the right spot. And he does bring the nastiness and the edge in a good way that I'm employing our guys to play with. And so, he just needs to be out there more, and he will. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.